So I'm here with Petri at the beautiful Purple Valley, and we've got the opportunity to ask him a few questions. And first of all, Petri, I wanted to ask you, you come from a very healing background, healing arts, traditional folk healing, is that right? And some Reiki and some naturopath. So I wanted to ask you, with those disciplines, how are they viewing the body? What approach are they taking, first of all?
So we go back to the Finnish folk healing system. There is, it's in many layers, this healing, because it can be physical, it can be energy healing, it can be long distance healing, it can be herbal healing, cupping, they even use the power words like a mantras.
Yes.
And some techniques like, some techniques also for the mental issues, some mental disorders. So it's pretty, it's old, it's kind of like hard to
together. Is it a
right now
thing? Is it holistic? Do they view that you have to have other elements in the body? Because coming from a Western approach, somebody comes to me with a sore neck, then I dive straight in there and then spread out from there. But a lot of disciplines take the whole body and say, okay, this could be other issues.
So the one thing was that my teacher didn't allow me to study anatomy.
Ah, yes.
So that was one thing that how he saw the body was the energy movement.
Yeah.
And it doesn't move like the anatomy, like the muscle.
No.
The energy moves everywhere, and there's thousands of nadis. And so to really know what is the problem, where the energy is stuck in the body, you have to go into the energy system. You can't find it from the physical body.
Yeah.
Okay, you find it from the physical body, but that's not the deepest.
Not the reason.
Source, the reason, and the reason has many different sources. It can be physical reason, it can be mental. There can be also some reasons what we can maybe explain.
And did you start to feel energy before you went down that line? Is that what drew you to it, or did you then develop that sense once you'd started studying and got more information?
I didn't have any idea about energy before. Nothing. And I thought that it's something like what you need to have, some kind of skill when you're born, and you're like, it's something special. I went to my healing master for almost 2 years before he started to check if I have that kind of sensitivity or to feel energy and to move energy and to work with that. And when he did the first time, he tested me. So he put me to stand in the middle of this room.
Yeah.
And he was somewhere like a few meters away. And then he started to hypnotize me with his mind. He didn't say a word, but I started to move, and then Muddy started to kind of raise up, like I was on my toes, and he was just like lifting my body up from the floor. And I was like moving up, and then I kind of fell down. And then I was like, okay, I went back, and he tried again, and I fell again. So this was his testing, like if I had this, like if there was an easy connection with me.
Yeah.
Because the teacher-student there has to be a connection.
Yeah.
And he felt that I was okay. But at the same time, when he did it, I also understood what he did. So it was like
A sudden
transforming
understanding.
this like technique to my system, not to my body, maybe not to mind, but somewhere there.
And how did that change once you'd had that experience and you started placing your hands on people, you suddenly became aware of a different dimension? Did it change your mindset?
It can be on off. If you don't want to feel, then you don't have to feel, and you turn kind of the energy on, and then you can feel all different kind of things from the body and mind, and even if the healer is very sensitive, they can also feel the past and maybe future. So this the time doesn't matter anymore. It goes over beyond the time.
And you did roughly how long did you do that before you then transferred into the yoga? Because you've been practicing what, about 20, or teaching about 24 years, 25 years?
Yeah, practicing 25 years, teaching 23 years.
23 years.
Because I went to this place at the same time. When I started Ashtanga, I just also started this healing. I did some Reiki before, but I never used Reiki as a healing method.
Yeah.
I went to these first 2 courses. I think there is 3. The last one
3
is some
levels?
kind of, yeah. And I never used it. And this folk healing thing came, I would say it came a little bit later that I started to use it. Maybe 94, 95, something like that. And
You'd already started into the Ashtanga then, your own practice?
yeah, in 89.
Do you think that
And
influenced?
I don't use it so. I don't use the energy healing so much when I'm teaching. But of course, it's that the channel is open
Yeah,
for this understanding.
yeah.
Changes many things. That you can be very sensitive. Like what is happening. I feel when I'm anywhere. Like even when I walk somewhere, like on the street, I can feel energies like coming from somewhere and pushing me, and I look like where is this coming from? And I like, okay, this is like, okay, that person has a very strong aura,
Yeah.
and I can feel this aura is so big that it's pushing me, and this kind of things, which is like
You
I
wouldn't do
couldn't
well
feel.
in New York. They'd be like on the streets
It's
there.
sometimes yeah, I feel it quite often. Like I feel somewhere like something warm or something is pushing me, and then I start to check where it's coming from, because it has to usually come from somewhere. It's like I check like who is this person who has this kind of
Yeah.
aura that it's so strong. And sometimes I find, sometimes doesn't.
And on the mat, how does that translate? So you're giving somebody an adjustment. Can you feel, if you don't feel a physical resistance, is there sometimes an energetic resistance to where you want to take them, or vice versa?
Yes. Some people has lots of tension inside the body, and it's not only physical tension. There is a stress, and the energy is completely blocked. So what I can do is that I soften the energy tension, and then the body starts to move easily. So the softening the energy tension, make the energy to flow, will also soften the body.
So physical.
It makes it very, very easy to do some adjustment. And some people, like after the adjustment, they look at me like, how that happened.
They've never been there before. They're never so soft.
And they just look like, wow, that went deep.
And does it stay? Does it stay? Does it transmit into the next day and the next day?
I think what is
changes?
important that people get experience of that state.
No, it's possible.
That there was this soft feeling, and I went that deep, so it stays in the body memory.
Yeah.
And also in this energy memory.
Yeah.
Energy body memory. So we can divide this physical body and energy body.
Yeah.
So these are they're similar but not the same. So in the energy body, many things are possible, but are not possible in
Yeah.
in the physical body. But this energy, how this, so if somebody has a mental, some like a memory
Yeah.
from bad experience,
Yeah.
it happens a little bit like how the people get some allergic reactions.
Yeah.
Like it starts from somewhere, and then when it becomes like a physical, it's been going through maybe it's been there maybe 2 years or 3
And you
years.
only notice it when you.
And you notice when you
Yeah.
see the first
Yeah.
scratching, you're like,
Yeah.
hey, now I have it. So this is the same, like there is some issue in the mind, it starts to create little energy block in the body, and it's create. If you can't open the block, it will create more and more this energy block, and then one day it will become physical. And then the person says like, I have a elbow problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So of course it can come if you hit yourself. That's a physical. It can also have some mental sources, but usually that is what we call physical. Accident. You hit yourself. You do something. But many issues come from the mind.
Sometimes we associate as well different areas of the body with different types of emotions or blockages. Do you feel that or sense that too? Is there a difference between the hips and the chest and the shoulders, neck, as far as the sorts of energy that's stored there or the sorts of emotions that cause those blockages?
Yeah. There is the throat, chest area, which is almost always come from the mental some bad experiences, and then there is the stomach area, which is usually linked to the stress, and then there is all this like sexual energy in the hip area, which can be very, very blocked sometimes.
Yeah.
And there is certain areas, but we don't. These Finnish folk healers, they didn't talk so much. They just did the work.
Right.
They didn't say that there's this chakra or how this energy healing is possible. They never said anything. But of course they also became Christians, so before they went pagans.
Right.
And then they became Christians. So they used a little bit. They used Christian terms. They made it talk about God or Jesus.
Yes.
As before, maybe they talk about something
Somebody
also
else.
maybe God, but some other names.
Yeah.
The techniques are old, but then the religion changed somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere maybe in the middle of 19th century, when people still had the old religion. Even Finland was Christian a long time, but there was lots of people who still had the old old
The
religion.
old traditions, yeah. And there's a lot to be learned from them, isn't there? Because we get a little bit single-minded nowadays about.
I saw amazing people, really amazing people. There was the master healers. There was these old guys. There was this guy called Pentti Penttilä.
Yeah, right.
And then there was Pentti Mäkelä, and my teacher was Raimo Holtti. And these old teachers, they were just amazing. I couldn't believe like what I saw. Sometimes they could really play with the energy like a magician. I learned something of. But then Ashtanga became so popular, I had to stop going to this, and I had to stop the healing work because
You had to make a decision.
I had to make a decision. I couldn't do everything at the same time, and also yoga. Ashtanga practice is long.
Yeah.
Teaching is quite hard.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do any more treatments. I would, I'm not so old. I can still do it. But there's amazing techniques, really. Like this hypnotize people with the mind, without like the person knowing anything that somebody's doing it. So like the other person could be like at the pool and hypnotize you when you're sitting here.
Useful.
It's kind of like weird
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And then you like, there's a one sutra in Patanjali in the third chapter when they talk about the siddhis.
Yeah.
They say that the yogi can push somebody's like a energy out from the body, and they can go into the body and start to move it.
Yeah.
And it can go on for even days. So these
it's
people know
similar
the system.
connection.
Yeah, these people know the system, how they can do it.
And do you sometimes, can people heal during the Ashtanga practice, heal themselves by the changing the flow of energy and that sort of stuff? Or sometimes do you get the feel that there's a person on the mat that maybe has to sort out their stuff first before they come onto the mat? How does it work?
I try to help them to find the yoga practice from the beginning. So it's a meditative, soft, kind of listening their mind and body,
Yeah.
and maybe fixing some of the energy if there is a blocks or unbalance, and I can try to do some of that work. And energy healing works like a homeopathy. The healer give this little seed,
Yes.
and then the body starts to heal itself.
Gets the ball rolling.
It's a very natural thing what will happen after. So it's just a little first aid for the body and mind. And it can happen quickly. Sometimes people come, they're stressed, they have pain, and after a few days they start to look like, happier and less pain, and
Revive.
and I really want that people find a way to practice that they don't hurt themselves, because there's too much pain in Ashtanga yoga.
Yeah, and you have a beautiful softness about your own energy, and how do you promote that in other people in the shala? Because as you say, there sometimes is a sort of a little bit harshness with Ashtanga. Our approach can be a little bit driven. How do you foster that feeling of this more meditative practice, a soft, more gentler practice, and non-harming to ourselves?
Yeah, the one thing is that we are avoiding to disturb anyone in the class. So if we talk very softly, and only for the person who needs the advice or information. We try to create the peace and meditative environment to the shala. So walking kind of slowly, softly, not make any noise.
Yeah.
We don't, if somebody does something wrong, we don't run there and say like, hey, you do something wrong, this is not part of the choice system.
Right.
We look like, okay, this was, okay, next day we maybe go and correct something.
Yeah.
Next day correct more. So it happens very slowly and gently. And that will create the peaceful environment to the shala. And that's, it's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful.
And
you just witness. You witness
the calmness spreading.
You're there and try to keep the balance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard mind work. Like, okay, you see person does something weird, like start to make noise or disturb other people.
Yeah.
And you try to make it like, okay, somehow fix it.
Because I've seen the opposite. I've been in a practice where there's been one or two individuals that have been very, say, high energy and driven, and you can see it spreading around the people closer to them. So it can be disruptive.
Yeah, we have people who come, they be doing some power yoga, Vinyasa flow or something. They never done Ashtanga, but they doesn't want to come to beginner's class.
Yeah.
And because they've been practicing yoga for a long time, we're like, okay, come to do your practice, and then come to the beginner's class also. They come to do their practice and they do all this, asanas, and maybe just let them to do. Just do it, and it's important that people are happy also. So slowly they start to look around like, I also want to do this, what these other people do.
Yeah.
And next day they be studying. I want to do the same as others. I don't want to be different.
Yeah.
So many times we don't have to say anything. Next day they are like, can you say me how to do this? And what this breathing is? Like, people breathe with this sound.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what it is? Like, it comes from inside.
Yeah.
You don't have to go there and force people to do some Patabichos tradition. They will learn it by themselves.
They're drawn to it.
Yeah, it comes. Is this powerful energy in the sala, and there's 30-40 people practice Ashtanga, and it looks like everyone knows what they do, and there's a concentration and this quietness. So of course people want to do the same. They want to be part of this energy flow.
And for those people, because there's a lot of people that don't have the opportunity to go to a shala because of where they live or monetary reasons or whatever, so they might be practicing on their own. How can they develop that inner calmness themselves during the practice, and what is the seeds that can germinate into a softer approach? Is there things that they shouldn't be doing or should be doing, or a certain type of focus on the breath? Or
I think it starts from concentration.
Concentration?
Yeah, the concentration, the breath, and also what I've been talking about, sattvic mind, that you don't have to think so much about what are you doing today.
Yeah.
Even if it's Tuesday, it doesn't have to be third series day or fourth series day. It can be any day, because we don't know in the beginning of the practice, we don't know how the body feels, how the mind feels. So when you start the practice, it's just calm down, start to breathe, concentrate, and don't think so much how the practice will be. Just start sun salutation A 5 times, and sun salutation B, and slowly you start to know, okay, this is how I am today. And then you start to do the standing sequence, and okay, I'm ready to do Pasasana today.
And listen to what your body wants to do, rather than, as you say, okay.
It can be both. It can be listening, and it can be also knowing that, okay, this is how the system works, but maybe today I cannot do the system.
Yeah.
Today I must do something else.
And what about for those people? Because there's some people will have a lot of motivation, and other people seek comfort in what they can already do quite comfortably. And then is there a fear of yes, my body is saying to me, I feel like doing the primary series today, and the next day it says the same, and the next day it says the same, and that's coming from a sense of security and comfort in what you can already do. So is there a time or a place where you've got to say, okay, yeah, look, I'm settled in this, but maybe a challenge or two would be quite useful, and how to approach that maybe?
Yeah, sometimes we need it. Poses where you, let's say Supta Kurmasana, if your feet are together like this, one day you have to try
And put it
here and then move it over. So we have these days when we have to cross the limits. And those are special days. You don't have to try every day to do it. Yes, some days we have to push a little bit more and just maybe do some prayers that nothing bad happens.
And how do we know when we're trying too hard or not hard enough? So is it because sometimes we want a posture, or wanting is not the right word to start with, I suppose, because we should be progressing through. But we can have our mind set on something, and then we strive a little bit too hard for it. And that's, as you say, we want to be avoiding injuries. We want to be avoiding anything untoward happening to our bodies.
Yeah, there's one good way to look at it is that there should be progress all the time, and but there is also some days when we're just tired, and maybe there is some, you know, how you say, planetary
alignments, yeah.
alignments which are not maybe good for our energy this day, and sometimes we're tired. But usually there should be progress. There should be progress, and that's a good meter. Like you look the progress, and don't try to maybe do too much in one day, but there should be a little bit progress all the time. Sometimes it's not physical progress, it's mental progress.
I was going to say to you, what a meter are we measuring it by? Because there's
it can be physical or mental, but the feeling that there is, and if it happens that you injure yourself, it can happen, you know. And you should feel the healing all the time.
Yeah.
So we have to be very smart when we practice yoga. We cannot just put the mat on and like start to throw the poses.
Yeah.
We have to really think carefully like how to do it. And if we think about yoga system, we try to reach the samadhi state.
Yeah.
We don't have to think about it, but there is the eighth limb, which is samadhi.
Yeah.
And to reach samadhi with this system, we have to be very, very smart. And of course, have a good teachers and lots of knowledge, but it's not something where you go to the sala and start to do like, I want to do this and that. We have to think.
Before. And we were talking about this progress, either physical or energetic or spiritual, happening over time. Have you, in your own practice, at times found you've reached a plateau at any stage? And if so, what have you done to spark a reignition of moving forward?
Well, the teaching work is quite hard, and Pattabhi Joyce started to quit his asana practice when he was about 60 years old, and he was focusing only for teaching and some, you know, religious aspects, puja, pranayama, and I must say a little bit happened for me too when I started to teach more. That was in 98, and I was in a kind of very good shape, and I was kind of start to be ready to start the fourth series. And that was some kind of like turning point.
And what age would you have been then?
That time?
Yeah.
I was 32.
32?
32. And so I started to teach a lot, also travel. Still did my practice, but part of the energy goes for the teaching.
Yeah.
And then you try to maintain your practice and try to keep your good physical condition and also the energy condition. So the teaching becomes also one practice.
Yeah.
It's not anymore only yourself. Now it's sharing for the other people. And it takes lots of energy. And there is all poses, because in Ashtanga we give adjustments.
Yeah.
There is all the back bends, all the Supta Kurmasanas, all the Marichasanas, Pasasanas. There's so many poses which are quite hard for the teacher. Even if you have very good technique, you still do quite many of those poses.
Yes.
The teaching became important, and I'm giving part of the energy for the students.
Yeah.
So there's something left for myself, but I really want to give also for the students.
And do you have a time in the year when you can redevote it to your own practice? Because you're on the road a lot teaching, aren't you? Do you save some time somewhere?
There is some weeks. And also these kind of retreats, even here in Purple Valley.
Yeah.
I'm teaching in the morning. I practice early in the morning, and I teach in the morning about 4 hours. And I eat a little bit breakfast and take a nap and take easy in the morning. So this is not normal life. This is easier than normal traveling
Easier than
workshop.
normal, yeah.
Go to somewhere in Europe, or flying in, seeing so many people, going to lunch, going to dinner.
Yeah.
Try to do all the emails and stuff. It's quite a lot of work.
Yeah. And so for people that are not teaching themselves, so not needing to share their energy, but also find themselves on a plateau, and then that plateau may go on for several years. They feel that their physical practice has stopped at a point. They may be stuck on a certain posture, and maybe that's also affecting their energetic advancement as well. How can they tempt that to go forward? Do they need to change their mindset?
You can use any kind of method to help yourself. You can use physical, you can use... the first thing is, of course, practice.
Yeah.
We practice 6 times a week or 5 times a week. That's the main method. But you can do anything else. You can go to massage, you can go to chiropractor, you can go to some psychology, how you say.
Yeah.
And you can go to energy healing. It's so many ways how you can help the body and mind open. Everything is possible. I think some people think that, okay, you just have to do this asana and that's all. But there's Ayurveda, there's many other things you can also do. If you feel you get stuck and the practice doesn't help and you keep doing, and looks like even teacher cannot help you. There is some kind of block, of course.
Yeah.
There is a physical or mental or energetical, there is some kind of block.
Sometimes I found in myself that if I stop trying, then things change. Have you found that as well? Sometimes you could be trying too hard, and if you just let go, then...
I like it. Practice 5 or 6 times a week.
Yeah.
You don't have to try so much.
Yeah, just be there on the mat.
Just be there and practice. And many times if you start to push yourself through these obstacles, it might be very tiring and you might exhaust yourself. And you can also keep practicing and wait that the blocks will naturally open.
Yeah.
Don't have to force so much.
And for if you're approaching a new asana, or how do you approach it? Do you have a analytical view of what's required of that asana? So it needs more external rotation of the hip, or it needs more of this or of that, or do you just do it and keep doing it? How do you approach a new asana for yourself?
Well, this is how the week usually goes. You finish the week on Friday with the primary series.
Yeah.
Then we have Friday kind of off, Saturday off. And Sunday you start again. Sunday I feel like my body is still kind of resting. It's not in the best condition on Sunday.
Yeah.
So Sunday I take quite easy. Don't try to make anything, any new asanas, or even not trying to get so much deeper in the poses. So that's the start for the week.
Yeah.
Then the next day you can go slightly more, and the next day again a little bit more. And if you on Wednesday already tired, so you can take maybe easier. Next day you try to go again more, and then Friday's primary series. So there is this kind of a schedule when you start on Sunday, because you'll be resting and maybe going to movies, maybe eating. Sometimes you may be overeating or something because you see your friends, and do those things what you maybe cannot do on the weekdays.
Yeah.
So Sunday is kind of easy. Monday more, Tuesday more, maybe Wednesday more, maybe Thursday more. Then it goes that way. Little progress, and then Friday, rest. Start Sunday again, easy, and start to climb up.
And do you ever do anything outside of the practice? To say, for instance, there was a posture that required a little bit more of this, and you could sense that. Do you ever say, okay, I'll do some particular opener or something outside of the practice to encourage that movement, or do you just wait and see?
I do very little of that.
Yeah.
I've been doing some back opening, like a chest opening, because I'm not one of those super open back people.
You look quite strong still.
Yeah, I'm an ex-ice hockey player.
Right. Yeah.
I still feel it, my legs are not like, this
You've got decent sized calves.
Skinny. Yeah, like there's so much stuff here.
Yeah.
And so I was not like doing gymnastics or some dance or something when I was young.
Yeah.
I was just lifting weights and doing ice hockey. So I've been doing some back opening extra practice at home. The hip is opening when you sit with the yogis on the floor.
Yeah.
It's very hard in the beginning. Sit on the floor for hours and you feel like, oh, my hips killing me, but it starts to open.
What about those
my
people?
Hips were like this when I started.
When you first started?
And I saw Derek Island, my teacher, who was sitting like this, or maybe in a lotus pose.
Yeah.
I was thinking, this guy has some trick.
To do it.
Must be some trick that they put the hips somehow like they can open the body like that. I found out it wasn't any trick.
Because it feels like steel wires to start with, doesn't it? That are holding it in place.
Yeah, it's when you start yoga, it's hard to understand that it will come.
Yeah.
The flexibility and strength. You look some like runners, like 100-meter runners, and you see that they run 9 seconds.
Yeah.
You cannot think that you can do the same. There you know that I have to practice for maybe 10 years to do the same, and maybe you can even go that far. But when people start yoga, they think I have to be flexible when I start.
Yeah.
I see many men, they're like, I'm not flexible. I'm like, yeah, who is flexible when they start yoga? Nobody's flexible. So there is this misunderstanding about yoga that if you're not flexible, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So it takes time. You start and it will come. Ashtanga yoga is a very, very powerful technique.
Did it take you long to unwind the tightness that you'd created with the weight training and the ice hockey, or did your body respond quite quickly?
Yeah,
personally?
It took 7 years.
7 years?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I remember after 7 years, it was 96, and I was practicing, and first time I felt that now I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That there was this softness and lightness where I was like just hearing people talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I did some pose and I went all the way flat to the pose, and I felt now this is what I've been.
What you've been after.
Yeah.
So how did that relate? So that was our physical thing, wasn't it? That's our physical changes, which is quite easy to identify with because we can see it. But did you also at the same time feel a change in your mental approach or energetic approach?
In the 90s, the practice style was different. There was not so much softness that time. It was more like try to get quickly forward to the third series, to the fourth series, more poses, and teachers were pushing very hard. So even when I felt softness and lightness, it wasn't that I was softening my practice.
Right, yeah.
I was pushing even harder. But yeah, of course, they happen sometimes in the mind when you feel that kind of softness in the body. The body has to be quite flexible to feel that softness.
Yeah.
Because if there is any tension, the muscles are kind of fighting against,
Yeah.
and there's maybe some kind of shaking or something happens.
And as far as because on the one hand, we quite often say, don't get too caught up in the physical practice or the doing this posture perfectly or so deep. It's more about your intention on the mat and focus on where you are. And then on the other hand, we have all these subsequent sequences that we can do. So what purpose do you see that the more advanced sequences serve? If we can already sit in, say, Padmasana and meditate or do our pranayama comfortably for however long is required, what are we getting out of those more advanced sequences?
Yeah, Ashtanga is a very special system. With the meditation, I'm sure you can reach some very deep states of mind. You don't need asana for that. But if you look at the sequences, the primary, the intermediate, those are the main sequences, because you have the therapy and purification.
Yeah.
So Yoga Chikitsa, Nadi Shodhana, and then Sthirabhaga. So Sthirabhaga goes already to the other side, so it's thought to be this strength and beauty and softness and the movement. We can say that the yoga therapy and the purification, those are the main. So if you can finish the second series, you kind of done the asanas.
Right.
Up to that point that you already got the benefits from those basic poses. And then when we go to Sthirabhaga, it just goes deeper, the purification. And I don't know if you become more spiritual person but for sure there is more understanding about the body, and it needs maybe more concentration. Necessarily it doesn't mean that you're more spiritual, but you have to be very balanced physically. It could mean also that you do very advanced poses.
Yeah.
You need lots of concentration, lots of understanding. You can maybe have it also in the energy level.
And when you go back, so say now, let's say when you first started, you were practicing primary, then you went on to second or whatever, and then now practicing, so that would have been the bulk of your practice. And say now, say the bulk of your practice was third series or the beginning of fourth or whatever, and then you go back and do primary on a Friday. How does the feeling of doing primary change from that time when you were doing it at the beginning? Do you have a different approach to what you're thinking about when you're doing it, or?
Now I just meditate.
Right.
I meditate from the beginning to the end.
And how do you do that? So when you say, what are you focused on one particular aspect?
From the beginning of the practice, I because I know the state.
Yeah.
I know the state of mind. When you start, you do the little mantra for Patanjali and the gurus, and somehow softening and lightening the whole yourself, and then you just start without any expectation, and then just do. And do it, and not thinking so much, and all the time just keep it soft and light, and move softly, and that will keep the meditation. So it's really.
Are you exploring what you're feeling, or are you thinking about anything specifically while you're doing it, or just sensing the body, or
just sensing, observing all the time, like the energy and the softness and movement and breathing I think the main thing, because the breathing is already, and we practice a long time, so I don't have to think so much.
Yeah.
The bandha, the trishti, that's already in the system. But keeping this softness and lightness, that's where is the focus.
And does your breathing change between the sequences that you do? So when you're doing third, is it as even as long?
It's faster.
It's faster. Yeah, that's because it's more challenging.
It's faster and louder.
Yeah.
When you do basic poses, you can breathe very lightly and softly. It doesn't need so much sound.
And can you be in a posture too long? So there's a temptation, shall we say, when you're working on a particular posture, that okay, if I stay there a bit longer, there's got more time to work, but then we can sort of become settled in it. Is it breaking the flow, or is that quite nice sometimes to hang around in something?
Yeah, I stay in many poses actually, more than 5 breaths.
Yeah, so we'd be talking how many breaths?
Usually it's 8.
Yeah.
And 8 used to be also what we did when I started Ashtanga.
8 for everything?
Yeah, 8 in every pose. And we also did sun salutation 8 times and B 5 times.
Yeah.
And we practiced twice a day.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Everything was more.
Yeah.
Also, shoulder stand was 25 breaths, and the headstand was maybe 50. And nowadays, everything is less and less and less. It's very nice. I say to students that 5 breaths means that you kind of get into the pose and then you push your body, and that is the 5. So after the 5, actually, the relaxation starts to happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in that first 5, it happens after 5. So to really get to this sukham, this kind of pleasure pose, it needs more than 5 breaths. Or it's easier after the 5.
Yeah.
You can also feel it before, but and you can 5 breaths, you push to the pose, and then start to breathe, calm down, and observe also the muscles. And where is the tension? How to work with that tension?
Yeah.
How to set the body, align. How to stay comfortable in a pose. It comes mainly after the 5. So I can stay sometimes maybe 20.
20 breaths?
Yeah. Like Paschimottanasana, the first forward bend. I don't do so many of them. I do only 2.
Right.
But I stay longer.
For each one.
Yeah.
But can that cause the heat? Because we're often talking about the fire and the heat, and if we keep the flow going, then it's okay. Is that whereas sometimes when we settle nicely into a posture, is the heat sort of dying down? Does it become slightly a heavier practice or not? Can you still keep that lightness to it?
It doesn't die. But maybe I'm not sweating as much. I would sweat otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there would be this 5 breath, quick flow.
Fly through it. Yeah.
I think there would be more sweating. I don't know. Sweating is important, but I think you can also try to eat healthy life, and that's also purifies yourself.
Yeah. And I think you sort of started along these lines when we were talking just now about just coming to the mat and seeing what happens. So do you ever set an intention for a practice at all? So say, okay, today I'm going to work a little bit harder on X posture or Y, before you actually even get onto the mat? Or do you just come and see?
It happens during the standing sequence.
Right.
Usually already in the sun salutations, I see how deep my body goes down.
Yeah.
Prasarita Padottanasana, I see how the hip is open. And usually in Prasarita Padottanasana I know what kind of asana sequence I do.
You're going to be doing.
Yeah. But you start to see it already in sun salutations. But sometimes the body doesn't open in the sun salutations. It opens later in some other standing sequence poses. But usually Prasarita Padottanasana, it starts to be quite clear. Okay, this is how is the day. Sometimes it just doesn't open, sometimes it opens.
And
but if it doesn't open, it's better not to try to do some
it.
advanced poses.
Yeah. And can I ask, how old are you now?
I'm 46.
46. So soon, not too soon, hopefully, there's 50 looming and 55 and all that business.
Looking forward.
Looking forward to it. Do you envisage your practice changing, or are you going to just continue on and only change or ease back as you need to, or how do you feel your practice is going to go in the next decade, shall we say?
There was Chuck Miller said that I'm looking forward for shorter practice. After doing all these crazy poses for a long time. No, I'm not in that level, but anyway, it will happen the same way. You know, if you look in this Ashtanga yoga system, that when you're younger, there is more asanas and less other aspects of yoga. When you get older, you start to gain some knowledge and understanding, and then the other things start to come in. Pranayama start to come in, philosophy, maybe some meditation or chanting. And when you get older, then there will be less asanas and more other things. And when we get very old, then there is no asanas at all because the body is not moving, but they can still be pranayama and meditation. And when we can't breathe anymore, then it's only meditation, the final one.
Forever.
Yeah.
So a gradual decline into stillness.
And it's one kind of samadhi, maybe, if that will happen.
And if we go back, we sort of touched on it just now, that the asana practice is only one aspect, obviously, of the 8 limbs. And we tend to get a little bit sidetracked, particularly in the West, with just that asana practice. But also I think traditionally, we don't start pranayama until we're into the second, is that right? Do you see a benefit for starting it early?
Pranayamas can be so different. People can start to do some breathing, because inhalation is pranayama, exhalation is also pranayama, and kumbhaka is pranayama. They're all pranayamas. So when you start to lengthen the breath, it starts to be pranayama. And we do it already in the Padmasana pose. Headstanding is also, there's a longer breath. Even shoulder stand has longer breath. So it starts already in the asana practice. In Padmasana, one breath might be 10 seconds. It's already lengthening. And even in the normal poses, we are controlling the breath, which start to be also part of pranayama. Yeah, it will come. The pranayama, if you look back when Guruji started to teach Westerners, he taught pranayama for the beginners also.
Okay.
There was primary series pranayamas and second series pranayamas and advanced series pranayamas. But if you read from Yoga Sutras or Hatha Yoga Pradipika, you can very clearly you can see that pranayama shouldn't be done too early.
Yeah.
Nobody says when, but nobody says if it's a second series or third series.
Whatever, yes.
But anyway, it looks like some asana should be done, that you can sit comfortably, open the chest, breathe deeply. So it's better to do some asanas. And but there was pranayama before for the primary people.
For the primary people.
And now it looks like Shorot is also teaching it.
And what about then if we're deciding we are doing it? Is it better to do it before the practice or after the practice or a different time of day, or what are your personal feelings?
I asked from Sarat just half a year ago,
Yeah.
and he said that some pranayamas should be done before, some after.
Right.
And you can also do pranayama when you sit in Padmasana, in the last
At
pose.
the end, yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
So if your pranayama is very short, like 5-10 minutes,
Yeah.
quick beginner's pranayama, you can
Yeah.
easily add it to
Yeah.
Padmasana pose. And if the pranayama is very long, like some people practice maybe 1 hour,
Yeah.
it's better to do before practice, because after the practice your body is too tired. Think about do some advanced poses
Yeah.
for 2 hours and then sit 1 hour in Padmasana do pranayama. It's
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
But if you do it earlier, then there is a nice, when you start to do asana, then the breath is moving
Yeah.
smoothly and the mind is focused, and the pranayama is also opening the body for the asana. I think there is no one way. Some people say after, some people before, but I think you can do all of them.
And for yourself, which way do you do things?
I like to do before the asana.
Before?
I'm tired. I want to rest after the asana.
Yeah, so you enjoy that bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rest after the asana, and also my hips are feeling after the practice feel a little tired.
Right.
It would be hard to sit in a lotus pose.
Yeah.
Like I don't have this super open hip like some Indians or some Westerners. But for me, I need some work to do
Yeah.
those poses. It's not like piece of cake.
And as far as the length of practice, we sort of touched on it just now, can it get too long? So if we're doing like all of primary and then half a second, or then we start adding some more on, and is there a sort of a time when you say, look, okay, you're going to have to start cutting it back or quickening it up?
Yeah, I think there's a 2 hours limit about it.
2 hours limit?
Yeah, after 2 hours it starts to be tiring, and you start to lose the energy what you just gained from the
Yeah.
practice. I think we discussed with Patabi Choice. He also said it's more than 2 hours practice is not very good.
So if you were doing, say, all of primary half of second,
That's about 2 hours.
that's about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So if it's taking longer than that, then
It can
you're
be a little bit
breathing
longer.
too slow, or
Oh, it can be a little longer.
Yeah.
2 hours, 10 minutes. It's still 2
Yeah.
hours,
But if it's 3 hours, say,
and it's long.
yeah,
It starts to be long. Well, some people do the headstand for 1 hour, so it makes it 3
Yes.
hours.
yes, another hour on the end there, yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel comfortable to do much more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's something what we learned. If you always do 2 hours, it feels
It feels the right time.
too
feels the right
long.
thing.
If you do 2.5 hours, it
Yeah.
feels like, okay, this is way too long.
Yeah. So if it's taking too long, is it better to speed up the breath or to cut out some postures?
I would cut out the postures,
Cut out the postures.
because this is according the body type, the dosha.
Yeah.
If the dosha is faster, like more vata type, then it's okay to breathe quickly and do poses quickly. But if you're more kapha type, it's not good to try to do too fast,
Yeah.
because then you start to fight against your nature,
Yeah.
and it starts to be very risky physically already. To hurt yourself, because it's not anymore. You are not controlling it anymore, because it goes to some other nature. I tried to do it when I was, maybe in the beginning of 90s. I had one friend who was more vata,
Yes.
and I was more kapha and slow, and I tried to follow him because we always practiced together.
Yes.
It was the time when there was not so many Ashtangis around. So we always practiced together, and I tried to keep the same pace, and and I hurt myself.
Interesting.
And I couldn't concentrate because I had to think about
His pace and staying with
he's
it.
going all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like I want to stay longer, but I didn't. After I injured myself, I understood, okay, this has to be my pace.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the dosas that time, and I didn't know anything about yoga philosophy. We just did asanas.
And when you go into a posture, say you're going into Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana, it requires a bit of moving and binding. Are you still going into that on that initial inhale of the jump through and then exhaling, folding forward?
Yeah, I used to go. Now
Yeah.
I might take one extra breath.
Take an extra breath there
Yeah.
and see.
You know, when the body is in the good shape, when you have certain flexibility and strength, it's not difficult at all. You go, you just fly in and
then
it's there,
yeah.
and it's very easy. I remember Patabicho's lead classes. Sometimes there was advanced practitioners
Yeah.
next to each other, and they all did all the time the same pace,
Yeah.
like getting in and out and in, and it was all the time following Patabicho's guidance.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful. There was once I was on the stage in a new yoga salon, and there was this Patabicho's chair, and I was practicing on this side of the chair, and then there was one guy was on the other side of the chair, and we always saw each other from under this chair getting into the pose.
Yeah.
And
The perfect timing.
laughing, always the same.
Yeah.
And Patabicho's was keeping this good rhythm, and yeah, it's not difficult when you have it.
Yeah.
When you don't have it, it's hard to understand, like, okay, that somebody can do it so easily.
Yeah. But it's worth developing that flow into the posture like that.
It is. Yeah. The body, and you really feel light.
Yeah.
And even when you walk, you start to feel light. You have so much strength and softness that even walking is almost like levitation. I remember some time when I felt like the feet didn't touch so much the ground when I was walking after the practice.
You weren't walking in water, were you, or anything like that as well?
No, I just felt so light.
Yeah.
In Mysore when practice with Guruji, and felt so light. And this softness and so much strength. I don't have that strength anymore. But it was those nice moments.
How do we, because hearing you talk about softness, we talk about a yoga body being strong but soft, don't we? But it can be sometimes hard, particularly there's a lot of people creating a lot of tension up around the neck and shoulder girdle. How do we cultivate that softness in the muscles?
It comes with the right technique. It comes with the right practice method.
Is there certain things that you see in the practice that you can see it generating that tightness, the jump throughs, or a certain type of jump through, or?
It can happen. And in the beginning, I think it happens. There's also some tristies, which can create lots of tension before you're ready to.
Yeah. So what would
before
they be?
you're ready to do the pose.
Yeah.
Correctly. There's certain things you have to go through, like having some tension in your neck for half a year.
And go through the other side of it.
And go through that situation. Okay, like in the forward bend, like when we have one leg in the front and one in like Janu Shirsasana A or some. So the twist is big toe, but the chin should touch the shin. And in the beginning, in the Patabicho's method, we try to touch the knee with the forehead.
Yeah.
And then slowly the face starts to move forward, and then at a certain point when your chin starts to touch the shin, but you still cannot see the big toe.
Yeah.
You still see maybe
Just
half
here.
of your foot, but not here.
Yeah.
So there is that time when you go from here up to here, and this might take half a year, and that it becomes soft and easy, it might take other half a year.
Yeah.
And all the time when you kind of struggling to see your big toe, you have quite a lot of tension in your neck. And some people even push the chin forward.
Yeah, which creates
to
tension in
higher.
the jaw. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's what we go through. It's not it's part of the practice.
So, because some people will say, like in the Janu Shishasana you just talked about, that the face is the actual face itself is parallel with the ground, but the eyes are looking towards the feet rather than leading with the chin. But in the traditional method, more.
There was many variations from the poses. Like we see Krishnamacharya had 15 variations for the forward bend.
Wow.
And Patabi Choice didn't take all of those variations. We don't have so many. So one variation on the forward bend was that all the way down and chin forward.
Yeah.
And then the one which is opposite pose is that when the back is very round.
Yes.
And the head touches the knees.
Yeah.
So these are both traditional poses, but just different variations. We have Baddha Konasana B when we round the back.
Yes.
And we have poses when the back is maybe not that straight, and then we have poses where we go all the way.
Yeah.
I think there could be more variation, but somehow it became like this.
Yeah.
There is less variation in the forward bend. I like to move more. I like to do more in my own practice.
More.
I round more my back than push forward.
Yeah.
It gives different opening for my lower back and hips. And also the Uddiyana Bandha can be sucked in
a bit more.
and it's good for the digestion. And
I think we've got time to maybe just ask you about one or two asanas, just some hints maybe of doing things. So if we say, for instance, let's think about Bakasana. So there's a big difference between having the knees on the back of the arms and then having the knees in the armpits and then having them just floating there and not being resting on the backs of the arms. What sort of feelings and energy do we need to cultivate to get that feeling where the knees are there, but we're not sort of held up by either the friction or pressing into? Because I've seen some people with like bruises on the backs of their arms, and it's like, okay, so there's a lot of weight coming into the backs of the arms.
yeah, in Bakasana, the knees are all the way to the armpits, just touching the body, but not really pressing the body. So it's just this whole energy movement which is upward. It's the energy is up, all the muscles are up, Mula Bandha is up, Uddiyana Bandha is up, everything is moving up. So it's a nice pose where knees are here, lifting, straightening the arms, lifting the head, and also lifting the feet and the Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. So the whole body is kind of moving upward. And if you don't have that strength, then of course the knees are leaning on your arms and they're heavy, and sometimes they over the knees are somewhere over the arms.
Outside.
So there is many. Because in the beginning, it's hard to lift the feet up, and I'm not very strict that the pose has to be so perfect in the beginning. I think it's just important that people can lift the feet.
Yeah.
And then when they can lift the feet, you can say, okay, now you can put the knees higher.
Yeah.
And then try to lift the knees and then higher and higher. But it's the whole energy idea is the moving upward and making the body light. So
And
that,
what about
that will come.
the jump into it? Because some people have a tremendous, it's quite a transition again for the bee to actually be able to jump and land softly on the,
Yeah, there
on
is
the backs of the
two.
arms.
We see the vinyasa. The vinyasa is, if you like bakasana bee, when you jump, the vinyasa is that one inhalation, seventh vinyasa,
Yeah.
jump to the pose.
Yeah.
So what people started to do nowadays is that seventh vinyasa inhale, they jump up to half handstand,
Yeah.
and then exhale, they go down to the arms.
Yeah.
So that doesn't follow anymore the vinyasa. So it became a new and a modern, modified vinyasa
Version
when
of
people
it.
do this very fancy handstand bakasana. I think it's the nice way how to do the bakasana is you still do it with the inhalation.
Yeah.
Where you jump, slow down the movement, and then take the pose. Don't have to jump so much up
So
and then
high.
go down,
Yeah.
but go like this and slow down,
Yeah.
and you're there.
Yeah.
So still follow the vinyasa, but not doing this acrobatics.
Acrobatics, yeah. Yeah. I think that's all we've got time for, Petri. Thank you so much for talking
Thank you
to
so
us.
much,
That's
Stephen.
like
Yeah.
excellent. Cool. Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Cool.
But the acrobatic in the back